Welcome back. You're still watching Network Africa on Channels Television. Now, following the gruesome incident in Tunisia, which left over 30 people dead, mostly British nationals, the interior ministers of Britain, Tunisia and Germany, which all lost citizens in a deadly gun attack at a beach, laid flowers at the site of the shooting. The UK Home Secretary Theresa May was among those who laid flowers and also observed a minute's silence on the beach as a few remaining tourists looked on. Security was increased all around the site ahead of the visit, which was armed with police and military stationed nearby and boats patrolling the sea. The ministers were expected to meet in the hotel before holding a joint news conference much later. Now, we'd just like to give you a profile of the man who was responsible for the deaths of those people on Friday. He goes by the name of Sefidine Rezgi. He was 23 years old, and he was also known by the Islamic State as Anom de Guerre or Abu Yahya al-Karawani. He was an aviation and engineering student, also an active member of an Islamist campaign at the Students' Union elections, and also used to preach Islam in front of the university. Rezgi never traveled abroad in his lifetime, prompting fears that he was radicalized at home, potentially a local mosque. People who knew him said he was polite, never swore, never fought, and liked breakdancing. According to the Tunisian Prime Minister Habib Essid, Rezgi hailed from Gafour, which was a small town 50 miles southwest of Tunis. He was last seen on Thursday by his family and friends, and his uncle said he seemed normal and did not act out of character. But when his activities on social media was checked, specifically on Facebook, we understand that his last entry was, quote, "May God take me out of this unjust world and perish its people and make them suffer, and they just remember you when you die," unquote. Well, we're joined from Washington, D.C. by the Voice of America's Jeffrey Young, who is an expert on terrorism and security. Jeffrey, thank you very much for your time as always.
And it's a pleasure to join you again.
Thank you. Now, the Islamic State has literally gone beyond Iraq and Syria. It's literally spreading its chaos beyond the Middle East. Is this a red flag?
Cynthia, of course. When any violent group expands its reach and its operations, there's reason for concern. It means that more state resources in more countries, intelligence, security, military operations, have to be committed to and focused on the threat that are posed by these non-state violent actors. As we see in Tunisia, this is already happening. They've added thousands of police to try to maintain order and safety on the beaches. Tunisia was attacked because it's a major tourist designation. It's also installed a government that's in that region much more democratic than most. By attacking tourists, you drive them away and you wound the country economically. This is something that we've seen being done for years in Egypt.
Well, Jeffrey, this attack seemed somewhat personal to an extent in that it seemed to target the British. Why do you think that was the case?
Well, for visibility, for one major reason. Follow me here. The British media is large and vibrant. When Britons are involved in anything worldwide, British media gives the story major coverage. Look, America does the same thing, but let's go back to this. The attackers chose a place, Tunisia, that was heavily attended by Europeans, including the British, because they wanted that media coverage. They wanted to get a huge amount of attention. And as I mentioned before, they wanted to frighten and scare away the British and the European tourists from Tunisia that are a major source of income for that country's economy. This bloody incident has already driven Western tourists out of the country. And in that sense, the terrorists have scored, I hate to say it, a bit of a win.
Well, finally, Jeffrey, what do we need? You did mention that this is actually cause for alarm. It's a red flag, what we just saw happen on Friday. What do we need to see put in place by various governments to stop the spread, basically, no matter what group the terrorists might fall under?
In this situation, in many situations, the key to fighting and suppressing terrorism takes multiple vectors. First of all, you must have excellent intelligence. You have to identify who these bad actors are and learn what they are doing. Now, this is not an easy task because these terror groups deliberately keep themselves small in order not to draw in strangers who might be intelligence operatives seeking to compromise them. But again, intelligence is the key. Now, another key to this is psychological, making these jihadi movements unattractive to perpetual recruits. If you look at the social media that is put out by the Islamic State, you see glory, 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 glory in the name of Allah, glory in the name of the Caliphate, glory in the name of Islam. But the truth of the matter is, if you show these people, these potential recruits, nothing but rotted corpses, jihadis, it starts to sink in at least a little bit that this is not martyrdom. This is not glory. It's simply getting killed for someone else's benefit. The human mind usually, hopefully, typically decides that getting killed for someone else's benefit is a waste of time and a waste of your life. Finally, you need top-level security and anti-terrorism forces who can identify these jihadis and potential jihadis and move decisively to stop them. And if you have to use lethal force, let it be used.
Well, Jeffrey, I don't know who could have said it better. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate your input as always. The Voice of America's Jeffrey Young reporting from Washington, D.C. Thank you very much.